Hi, it's Troy Griggs with Obsidian Wisdom. On this Wisdom Wednesday, we will be discussing the proverb, one beam, no matter how big, cannot support an entire house on its own. We will be talking about this proverb in two ways. The first is we're going to talk about the impact financially. Second, we're going to talk about the application of this proverb physically within the members of your family. And then we will also just talk about the overall understanding and how it just makes sense, right? Like the idea of Wisdom Wednesday is little words of wisdoms about life that are going to help you on a daily basis. Now, most entrepreneurs and families worry about money, so we created the Wisdometric framework to help you eradicate financial stress, generate a passive income, and build a prosperous retirement strategy. The first way that we're going to apply this proverb, when you talk about one beam, let's start with the idea of jumping off of a high board. I don't know if you've ever been in a pool where sometimes they have the high boards and then you're able to climb up maybe like 10, 15, 20 feet, and then you're able to jump into the water. And depending on how someone jumps, the water will make like a different sound. And if you've ever seen someone belly flop, then you know that the water makes a much different sound than if someone does a cannonball. Now, if you're talking about doing a belly flop, it almost looks like their skin kind of turns like red, or it itches almost, because they can feel kind of the fact that they didn't just like go through the water. Like the water held their weight up, even if it was just for like a split second, it did. So even though they hit water, it felt like they hit something much harder than water because their weight was able to be supported by the water. So let's say that 100-pound person was going to do two types of dives. The first type of dive they're going to do was a cannonball. So the cannonball would be, let's just make it that little square that I said. So their dive was in one square, which could only support 50 pounds of pressure. And so naturally they just dropped right through it. They didn't feel anything because they were 100 pounds landing on 50 pounds of pressure. So they overwhelmed it and overpowered it. But then on the other end, if you did a belly flop where you spread your weight out evenly over, let's say, 3 of those squares, well, now each square still holds 50 pounds of pressure, but now the 3 squares together hold 150 pounds. So now your weight, instead of your 100 pounds overpowering one little area of 50 pounds of pressure, well, now you have 3 areas of 50 pounds of pressure. So now your weight is being maintained, even if it was for a split second. And that's why when you do belly flops, it burns, it pops, it sounds completely different. The same idea is what I want you guys to think of when it talks about the one beam to hold your family up. If there's a certain amount of pressure that's going to fall on your family, then one person can only hold so much pressure, no matter how amazing that person is, no matter how influential, no matter how financially well off, no matter how amazing that person is. It doesn't change the fact that one person can only hold up so much. And as a family, we're really designed to support each other. And it is better to give than to receive. So you want to be able to find the some way, whether you have to train up some of your family members, whether you have to have family meetings where you share some of your concerns, or everyone can share some of their concerns, or whether you have to structure things in a certain way where you get at least a couple days off every month, where people have to figure out how to solve that problem without you. However you want to set it up, you have to be thinking ahead, because just having one beam that's going to support all of the family, that's just not going to work. Even if you were building a literal house and you have that like chief cornerstone or chief pillar, as maybe some of the ways houses were designed in different times, then you still have to have other walls to support it. You're right that the chief cornerstone, if you remove it, then there's no hope for the house. But at the same time, if there's not any supporting pieces, well, then you're still going to find yourself between a rock and a hard place. So you have to be thinking ahead, and you want to be sharing the burden. One thing I recommend for you guys to do is, if there's just a lot of decisions that have to be made, like maybe the same decisions, then I would almost have you make like a matrix. And what I mean is, if you make the important decisions, think of your family as like a business and you as the CEO. Should the CEO make every decision? I think most of us would agree that every decision shouldn't rise to the level of the CEO's desk. There are decisions that could be made by the secretary at the front desk. There are decisions that could be made by the CFO, the COO, right? The chief financial officer, chief operations officer, chief investment officer. However you manage it out, there are different decisions that people have different expertise and skill sets in, and you've met with them enough where they understand what your vision is, where they're then able to act out exactly aligned with your vision. And so if you make some sort of a matrix where there are certain decisions that different people can make in the family, well, then they're going to be able to support you. Now, you can meet with those family members just like a CEO would meet with their executives on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly basis. However, that makes sense to you, so that you stay, in the know of what's going on, but you're just not leaving all of the decisions to yourself. Now, financially, this is talking about just diversifying your investments, diversifying your income streams. Diversifying is really the key thing that you want to have here. If you have all of your money in one basket and something happens to that basket, then all of your money is gone. And as amazing as that investment may have been when you first heard about it, when you were first introduced to it, it does not change the fact that that investment, when the bottom falls out of the basket, all of your money goes with it. Now, it doesn't mean that if you find that next Amazon that you shouldn't jump at that opportunity. It just means that you shouldn't put everything in that opportunity. It just means that you should say, okay, this is the amount that I'm willing to lose. I'm going to put it in that opportunity, because again, if you did find the next Amazon, and then how much money do you really have to put into it for it to make more money than you'll ever be able to spend in the rest of your life, and you'll set your future generations up just fine. See, the truth is you don't have to put everything in if it is the next Amazon. You don't have to put everything in if it's the next Apple or the next Facebook or just the next Bitcoin, or however you want to structure it. It doesn't take a lot of money in one particular stock to have your family wealthy beyond imagination. So you really want to be able to say, okay, I'm going to save some money in what we call an opportunity fund. And that's not your emergency fund, but just your opportunity fund, where if someone comes up and is like, I have this amazing idea, would you like to invest in it? Well, whatever's in your opportunity fund, after you vet that idea out, if you like it, go for it. But only what's in the opportunity fund. See, we're not telling you that you can't do it. In fact, I think that it's wonderful to, take risks, to enjoy the process, because you do work for your money. So you should enjoy the process of your money working for you. It should be something that you enjoy watching it grow, something that you root for, something that you really want to win. And then you just enjoy the entire experience. And I'm telling you right now, if you put in more than just the money that you've been putting away in your opportunity fund, it becomes really, really hard to enjoy the experience. So if you want to be able to enjoy it and give yourself an opportunity to win, right? I think the way those old lottery commercials used to say you have to play to win, you want to have the ability to take advantage of it. If it was a business selling in your neighborhood where you went there every week, loved it, knew the neighborhood and the demographics and how successful a business was, or maybe you knew that there was a couple things that you would do differently that would help the business double, triple, quadruple its sales. Well, you would love to have already set aside an opportunity fund This opportunity fund is going to just be for those types of adventures that you feel like are going to give you an exponential return on your investment in a relatively good amount of time. Like I'm not gonna, I mean, short, long, it really depends on what your timeline is, but a good amount of time, something that is fair, equitable, and most people wouldn't be able to achieve in a lifetime. So, a good amount of time. That is what the opportunity fund is for. Now that's just one of the pillars. Again, you're still not going to have just one pillar. So then you would diversify and have other investments in other places. So this could just be your traditional retirement accounts, or it could be just your investments in different stocks. It could be you exploring different avenues of things. Now, you don't want to get crazy, right? Like Warren Buffett talks about the idea that you stick with what you know. So you do want to do things that you're comfortable and understand. You're not creating these pillars in the sense that you're just throwing a bunch of seeds out in the backyard and then you're going to just hope that it rains and sun and that everything lands just right and you end up with at least one tree. Now, while, statistically speaking, if you were to like root a certain tree, like I had rooted mangoes, like my dad has like a ton of mangoes in his yard. And so he loves to like pull them down and he gives us a ton of them. And so the kids and we ended up taking the seeds out and planting them. And from the research I was doing, they say it takes that you basically get like a 50-50, that about half of your mango seeds will grow. Well, that's assuming that you do everything the way it's supposed to be done, right? Where we're talking about allowing the root system to grow, the amount of water, the sunlight, the temperature, and, the soil, like just everything being done right. If you just took the seeds and threw them out, sure, some of them would grow, but the number would be much less. So we're still trying to give you a good amount of success. And so you then may say, okay, well, I want some investments, but I don't want everything in investments, which is fine. Then I'll start a business. Okay. And then I don't want everything in my business, so I may do real estate. Now, this is a transition point in the sense that I know some of you are saying, well, most people started off making their money in one particular area, and then they were able to grow it out from there. And while that's true in many ways, most people are going to start with their first stream being their traditional salary, just the work that they make when they trade their time for money. And then you're going to then diversify that income. You're going to say, I'm going to put 5% of my income in the stock market. I'm going to put 5% of my income in, business ideas that different people that I'm associating with, different organizations that I've joined are working on. And then you'll find ways to bring the family into the business. I had read a pretty interesting article that was talking about just how some like mastermind groups, like a family dynamic where maybe 5 families come together. Each of them puts like $10,000, $20,000, something like that into a pot. And then they go and open their first business. And then that one of the people in that network quits and works in that one business. And then different people from different structures in the different families, maybe they'll each give one person, and that one person works in that family business for free for a certain number of years. And then when that business is successful, they end up repaying the fund back the $50,000 that was used to start it. And then that money is used to open the second business. And then one of the people who were working for free in the one business now opens their own business. And then the cycle goes until everyone inside the business or everyone in that mastermind has their own business. Now, they weren't able to accomplish it with just one family's income, but they were able to accomplish it with 5 family incomes. Or maybe you end up having more families needed, where you have 10 families who each give $5,000. Or if it's a larger business, that you have 20 families, or you have the 10 families, but everybody gives still $10,000 or 20, however the numbers end up working out for your needs. And then when you work together to grow it, then you're able to give back into the pot. And then we're able to open more and more businesses where we're able to employ more and more within the families. And so it ends up becoming a cycle that produces a great deal of success over and over and over again. And that's really what we're trying to get people to understand, is just the idea that one beam, whether that beam is one family member who makes all of the decisions, whether that beam is one income stream that funds all of your life, or whether that is one family who funds all of the business. There are benefits to shortening the curve by bringing in more people, right? I think crowdfunding is a wonderful example of that, where people are able to raise money that they could never raise on their own in a very short amount of time because they have a lot of people giving a small amount of money. And so you want to just think about that with your family. What can we do as a family together that we could not do individually separate? And I just want you to share your thoughts on that in the comment. Now, if you are someone who needs more help understanding your retirement needs, I invite you to check out my free retirement planning that works video training at obsidianwisdom.com/training. In it, I'll give you the entire Wisdometric framework that I use with my clients to help them eradicate financial stress, generate passive income, and build a prosperous retirement strategy. And hopefully next time I'll have my voice back. But until next time, remember, wisdom is asking the right questions to allow yourself to get the right answers. Keep asking those questions and you will keep getting those answers. Continue blessings.